About intergenerational transfer, and I think it was Mr. Blatt who discussed this more in detail, but I would like you, sir, to elaborate a bit more about this. My understanding is that even before July 18th, there were some problems with Section 84.1 that made it more difficult or more costly, actually, to transfer a company to your children than it was to a third party. So would you elaborate on why this is so and why it's so complicated to solve that problem? Because we can see in the consultation document the government is aware of the problem and is asking for recommendations on how to solve the problem. So apparently it's not easy to solve the problem.
I'm defer to my colleague, Kevin.
Good afternoon, Senator.
Mr. Wark.
Yeah, the problem that existed prior to the consultation period, and in fact there had been a private member's bill introduced last year trying to address this issue that was, I believe, narrowly defeated by the House. And the issue was when the lifetime capital gains exemption was introduced, it created an exemption today which is over $800,000 on the sale of qualifying shares in a small business corporation. And the concern was that someone may use that exemption to transfer the business to a family member to qualify for the exemption while still retaining control and an operating management of that business. So CALU has actually been, as part of our pre-budget submission for the last 3 years, asking for a review of Section 84.1. We put in a very detailed submission relating to how we felt the rule could be revised to eliminate to the greatest extent possible the abuses that might arise. And for example, we're recommending, so the issue is if you sell to an arm's length person, you can claim your capital gains exemption.
But you can't if it's a family member.
And if you sell it to a corporation controlled by a family member, you can't. So there's a significant difference in tax liability. We're proposing that the exception apply for transfers to children, that there perhaps be an age limitation put in place. Most of these transfers are done because the business owner is retiring, so maybe you put in an age limitation before the exemption can be accessed, or that you put in, sometimes it's illness, so that could be a trigger to allow this, and that you put in an anti-avoidance provision that says that if that person who transfers the business is still in control of the operation, either because of control of the shares or through other influences, that the CRA can review that transaction and reverse the exemption that was being applied for. So we believe the tools are there to moderate it. Quebec has implemented legislation to do it, which is another model that can be looked at, and we've got some very bright people in finance. We think it can be figured out, and an exemption that will work can be put in place.
Thank you, sir.